Well, hello, everybody, and happy Monday. Welcome to the program. We are delighted that you're joining us today. It is Monday. It is another beautiful day, and every single day we get to spend together is even more beautiful. So thanks for joining us. We're super glad you're here. In the Zoom booth today, I have Rocky Krogfoss. I'm hoping I said that right because, everybody who knows me knows that my names are, I never get them right, but welcome to the program, Rocky. Super glad you're here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I know my name's a bit of a tongue twister, but it's 2 syllables, so we'll keep it simple.
You know what? I don't think it's your name. I think it's the way that if you listen to my show, you'll know that I scrap everybody's name. It's kind of a trademark. I don't know why I don't get them right, but it is, somehow the way that it goes. You have an organization or a company called New Beginnings Therapy, and I understand that your specialty is quantum emotional healing. Can you break that open for us and give us an idea what all that means?
Yeah, well, 25 years ago, I became aware of a gift that I have to heal pain. 4 women showed up in my life, one after another, as if it was divinely synchronized. And each one had a very serious migraine headache. Some of them have had it for 3 or 4 days.
Oh my goodness. And
I had never taken a course or anything like that before. And these were people that I kind of knew. And I suggested to them that, I can help them heal their pain. And they said, you can? I didn't know you did that. And I said, neither do I, but let's give it a go. So all I did at that time was put my hands on their shoulders. I don't do that anymore. I put my hands on their shoulders and I sent them love. And in every single case, all 4 of the women had the exact same experience. About 20 minutes into it, they just kind of went, oh, my pain is gone. And I went, it's gone? And they said, yeah, it's just gone. And they had the same symptoms. They were a little bit dizzy and they had a cold sweat. Like the pain just disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah, and it is truly a miracle. But at the time, I didn't know what I was doing. So I did the same thing. I went, wow, that's great. And they said, how did you do that? And I said, I don't know. I'm going to find out. So I started studying quantum physics, biophysics, epigenetics, biofields. The list is a mile long. That's what my books are made up of. And I started to understand the true nature of our reality creation abilities. And I came up with this modality called quantum emotional healing, which to be honest with you, I work 97% with women, and I'm not against men, but when men show up, they have a huge block called ego and pride. Women show up with this work and they just go, let's boogie, let's get at her. Yeah. And so when we're talking about I always like to jokingly say, when we're talking about emotions, put a man in front of me and a woman in front of me and ask them one really horrible question, and that is, how do you feel? Which one's going to give you the answer? So I always say that. But men have come to do work with me, and they have been able to discuss their emotions, because without it, we're sunk and I can't really help them. But so I spent a lot of time studying the science of biofields, or quantum, I call quantum fields. Your body is not physical. And even Einstein knew that 120 years ago, that you're not physical. That the physical body is just a manifestation of a quantum field. So I learned, I had a lot of help, and I'll tell you about that later, that a quantum field plus information, i.e. patriarchal and lineage belief systems that were downloaded into your body when you were young, all merged together to create a particular reality. Pain and suffering is as a result, every time, of some kind of unworthiness belief system. So that in itself has an energy field, and it infiltrates the cellular structure of your body and your DNA and locks it in, and thus you create pain. So obviously, the way to help somebody heal that is to reverse that process, to release the belief system, to release the inner child pain and abandonment, fear, whatever it is. So that is the essence of what I learned, and I started putting into practice, and I've helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women and men release anxiety, depression. It's across the board. Any type of pain, doesn't matter what it is, easy to release as long as the client is willing to do the inner work with me. And so that is the caveat.
So, because what it's, I mean, I'm trying to formulate my question here because I understand the emotional instability that happens in so many people. Usually as the direct result of trauma of some kind, whether or not it's physical or emotional trauma, whether it's something that has a visual component, something that somebody has seen, and they hold that trauma within the body on the long term. There are a variety of different modalities to try to release that trauma. When you say that you want to, you have somebody do the work with you, are you talking about unprocessing the event by event experience, or
No.
what does that look like? How does that?
The events themselves sometimes come into play as a reminder to the client that they have this program running in the background in the subconscious mind, not in the brain. So I do not work with the brain at all, because the subconscious mind, as Dr. Bruce Lipton so eloquently pointed out, is 97% of your reality creation.
Very true.
So I work with that part, and I work with the DNA, and so I just have a gift. I can't even tell you what it is because it's just a gift.
Yeah.
I have a gift to access the quantum field in your body to help you begin to release old beliefs that you don't even think about. They're running in the background. You don't even think about it. You just, what do we do in our society today? As soon as we have a pain, we run to a doctor.
Yeah.
And a doctor does pills. Do pills heal pain? No. Do pills
Really just mask? Yeah. It's
Yeah.
all about masking, right?
Yeah.
And the same with any kind of addiction, there's a masking going on that's much
Yes.
deeper. Not to
Yeah.
like that. I believe that addiction for people is a really, really difficult thing.
Well, when you think about it,
through.
pain is an addiction to a belief system that's not serving you anymore.
True.
Anxiety is created by an addiction to a belief that you need to process or worry about something. And so when we let go of that and we begin to understand who we really are and how science, that kind of science has been hidden from us for over 100 years, even though Einstein knew it all, we begin to let go of the belief that the medical system is the only solution. Of course, they've tried to tell us that for 120 years now. And of course, it's nonsense. So we're starting to wake up to the fact that we have this gift called a quantum field, which is a conscious energy field of unlimited potential. So if your body is capable of unlimited potential, what is in the way? Well, it's the information of unworthiness to receive love and all the other information of shame and anger and loneliness and abandonment. And all these things are very limiting. And when we let go of them, and that's what I do in my process, it's a very simple process. It's not complicated at all. You experience a release, and thus you feel better. And all of a sudden you notice over the next few days that that particular belief system simply doesn't exist anymore. And you start empowering. This is what we call empowerment. Empowerment is the releasing of unworthiness information and replacing it. So it's like a computer. You're taking information out and you're putting information in. So the worthiness to receive love, which most people don't have, is in fact the way you raise your vibration, your cellular vibration, to literally have a new vibration that goes out into the world, and we call it the law of attraction. So instead of attracting, for example, women who've had narcissistic relationships, instead of attracting one narcissist after another, and if you talk to people who work with narcissists, women who've been part of a narcissistic relationship, they leave one relationship eventually, their worthiness is really low, and they go out into the world and they attract another man, and Lo and behold, he's a narcissist. So you attract to you what I call the mirror equivalent of all the information in your body which you believe to be true about you. That never changes until you release belief systems that are not serving you. It's a very special process. It's very gentle. Mm. And it's something that I've worked on for 25 years now to perfect.
So what I know for sure is that a lot of people find themselves in repeating their pattern over and over again, right?
Yes.
That's kind of what you were talking about when you're talking about the narcissistic person that, you know, a woman perhaps may have shared her time with, and then she breaks up or he breaks up with her, however, and that pattern is repeated over and over again until such a time that that pattern gets broken. When you are talking about quantum emotional healing, how are you said it's a very easy process, but how are you actually shifting that dichotomy? How are you, like, is it a matter of meditation that you're doing with a client or a participant? Are you, like, how are you able, some people are very comfortable with EFT, tapping, all of that kind of stuff. So can you break, I know I've already said to break it open, but I know that our listeners are really resonating with some of the things you're saying. Yes. I'm curious about trying to help process that gap.
Well, first of all, it's not something you can process logically. It's just not logical.
Of course.
It is a quantum field. It is 100% experiential. So the process involves bringing a client to a state of balance or balancing their nervous system and all their other systems so that they are able to connect to the feeling body, not the mind. I don't want anybody to do any thinking when we're doing work. I want them to connect to the feelings because, as I learned 25 years ago, in order to heal it, you must feel it. The problem in our society is the medical system has taught us very much that when we have pain or trauma, we take something to mask the feelings. One of the magical things about feelings is when you stay with it and you don't run away from it, you don't mask it, suddenly that feeling, it heightens to a point where it just releases. I can't even tell you why, but that feeling releases, and thus the healing or what I call the grounding of that information carries on. And it, that information goes into the earth and it's transformed back into love and comes back into your body as love. So you get a chance to I call it rewriting your rule book.
Yeah.
If I was working with you, Kathy, I would say your rule book contains information that you are now in charge of. You make the rules that govern your life. And I always give my clients the first rule, and the first rule in your new book is called Kathy Makes the Rules. So every program in your body, if you think about it, was downloaded into your body from somebody else's thoughts and beliefs and culture and whatever else it is. Most of the beliefs in your body are downloaded into your body before the age of 8. So people are running around with inner child trauma expressing itself in an adult body until we do something about it and we help them identify it and release it. So that's kind of the process. It's just, I call it a relaxing exercise. You can call it meditative if you want. You can call it hypnotherapy, although I'm not a hypnotherapist. I wouldn't really know what that is, but it's a process that's very gentle and very welcoming, and also engages you in a space that's safe. Safety is huge, and a space that is giving you permission to surrender those things that you've hung on to forever. You know, that image of a rope around your neck and behind you got this giant bag with like 500 pounds of rocks and you're dragging it around all your life. Right. You just let it go. You know, it's really that simple. But it's experiential, so it's hard to understand. That's why I wrote these books and help people understand the science behind it.
So what I know for sure is that many people are resistant to looking at what's really going on within themselves, yes. Right? And yes. It's trying to get people that know that they need a change. There has to be that pivotal moment where they say to themselves, I am done. I am not doing this for 1 second, not 1 minute, not 1 hour, not one more year, not one more day, none of it. It's not happening anymore. So by the time they come to you to get
Yes.
this therapy, are they
Yes.
already there, or are you helping them to acquire that, first of all, determination to say, I don't want this life anymore?
My most favorite saying of a client when I first meet them is, I'll do whatever it takes to heal this. And I go, perfect. This is going to go fast and it's going to be easy. Other clients are going like, I'm not sure about this, you know, and so I have,
There's resistance.
yes, resistance, big time. And that's okay, because once they come into a space where they're allowed to be themselves, to think for themselves, to feel without somebody around them saying, you know, suck it up, baby, get on with it.
Yeah.
Safety and gentleness come together to provide the ideal healing space. So for men as well, men need to feel safe. Men, some could say even more so, because they're so afraid of talking about their feelings that they don't feel safe at all. So providing safety is paramount. When I work with men, I tell them my story, which was pretty violent, childhood, you know, from hell, really. And I tell them how I worked through it and everything, and how I learned to feel, and how I learned to express myself authentically, honestly, and openly, and how that helped me heal. And so it encourages them to join me. But women already know that. It's an amazing thing about women. When you work with women so much as I do, you know, I know so much of what their programming is, and I know what's limiting them. I just give them the space to open up and let it out.
Yes.
And feel it. And at that point, we can observe it as an observer rather than a person carrying the pain. And in doing so, we can give it permission with intent. The intent is a really powerful tool. Intent to release it forever. And there's so many aspects to the release process that are so powerful. We have no idea, because we've never been trained or allowed to do any of this.
No, and in fact, being emotional more often than not is discounted as being a flaw in character. There's so many people that are professing that they have this information about the human psyche, and it's all, you know, in the upper part of the brain, when in actual fact, most beings, human beings, are living an experience through emotion and feeling much more than the physical body. As you said earlier, which I really appreciate, is that the body is the vessel. It's the holder of the information. Yes, but becoming comfortable with emotion, whether you're a man or a woman, is difficult at best for some environments, for sure.
Yes, well, the patriarchal mindset is responsible for capping the lid on a male mindset that women have had to follow for really thousands and thousands of years. And when I say to a woman, it's okay for you to just let that go now and step outside of that and of course, you know, there have been different cultures and beliefs that say, if you step outside our belief system, you're stepping into, you know, hell or whatever.
Stone you, right? Depending on where you are in the world, they'll even stone you, right? You cannot speak back. You cannot have a voice.
Yeah, well, one of the beautiful things about the work is that women understand that they have the absolute right to be heard, to be supported, to be acknowledged, to be loved unconditionally, that they can write the rules. So that creates a whole experience of freedom. And freedom is an experience. You can't describe it. It's not a logical thing. But the women I work with inevitably begin to feel this freedom. And it actually just inspires them to become more of who they are. And everything that they do and say and feel is always right, because they're not interested in outside interference in their belief and their way of living. So they become free, and they're not tied to the patriarchal prison, emotional prison that's created through multiple inputs, through you know, the medical system in particular, but, you know, also religion, politics, the whole works. So women have always been leading the way in the journey to freedom, And this modality helps them get very close to it, so much so that they start to live it. So that's why I love doing what I'm doing, because it has so many benefits. And never mind releasing the pain, never mind releasing the emotional trauma, the PTSD or whatever. It's easy to release. A woman has the natural gift already to release it. They just need some guidance. That's all.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
When it comes to doing this practice, you said you have been working with, many people, hundreds of women. Is there a common belief system among women?
Yes, I'm glad you brought it up. Women almost across the board have a belief system that I call, I give my love away to everyone in the hopes of getting some back. Mm-hmm. Very empowering. And also restrictive, and it diminishes a woman's right to take care of self first, not second, not third, not 6,223, but first. When a woman is asked, do you take care of yourself first? They go, what are you talking about? Of course not.
Yeah, of course.
I love giving. I said, well, that's another fallacy. That old religious belief is better to give than to receive is de-empowering. How about we change that around? It's better to receive than to give, or better yet, it's better to receive and then give, because you're taking care of self first and your body is filled with this self-love. You're not exhausted or drained or whatever. At the end of the day, your temple is filled with this love, and it allows you to create healthy conditions in your body. It helps you to be inspired. It helps you to see life the way you want to see it, rather than how all the others tell you it should. I mean, there's so many cultures across the planet that are so, restrictive, towards women. We know about the Taliban, and I've worked with a lot of women from India and Southeast Asia, where women are not treated very well, generally speaking. And they're not given a whole lot of rights, and their rights are taken away from them. And so I've worked with these women, and that extends across the world. It's not just certain countries. So I help them understand what it is they believe, because they don't know. Of course, when you're in the midst of it, you don't know any different. Yeah. And so I help them connect to the feelings that they have when the man says, "Where's my dinner?" How does that feel? Well, it doesn't feel like anyone appreciates me. It certainly doesn't feel like anyone loves me. And, it's restrictive, and there's no value in it for me. I'm learning how to value myself now first, so that when I go out into the world, I attract value. Men, women, children, whoever, that appreciate me and value me, because I'm worthy of receiving love now unconditionally. And therefore I start attracting those kinds of people in my life. So valuing yourself is also very good for people who are struggling in business. If they're struggling in business, it's because they ultimately don't value themselves high enough that they can attract the success that they want. I did a course once called Traditional Business Mindsets versus New Success Mindsets, which involved quantum thinking, quantum feeling. And so, we have a lot to learn in this world about this, because it's relatively new. When I say relatively new, it's about 20 years old now, really, in its current form. And my modality is unique to itself. I've done some training, and I've helped 5 other women become quantum emotional healers. So there's 6 of us on the whole planet. Wow. So yeah, I also love training women. It takes 8 months to train how to do this, because it's not as simple as that. I don't work with energy fields. I work with quantum fields and information.
So for our listeners who may not be familiar with what a quantum field looks like, can you describe what it, for those people that are not scientific, we just a heads up for our audience. Our audience is everybody from the university student all the way to the older adult.
Yes.
So there's so many people in between where we hear the word quantum, you hear quantum physics, but really when it comes to emotional therapy, what does that mean?
You're right. It's not that complex, actually. It's just one of those words that make you go like, oh, what?
I know, right? It's true, right?
Yeah. So a quantum field simply is, in my courses that I teach, healing and empowerment courses for women, I teach how this universe was created through this explosion called the Big Bang, and all this energy filled this space. Just energy, not rocks and dust, just energy. And this energy is the divine, and your body is made up of this energy. Therefore, you are one with the entire universe. On a scientific explanation, that conscious energy is everywhere, and you're just part of it. And so a quantum field simply is what your body's made of, and a quantum field has unlimited potential, rather than an energy field, which is, it's kind of like a beginner's journey to a quantum field. A quantum field has potential. That's the difference between an energy field and a quantum field, is your mindset. It's the mindset. I am a quantum field, and I am capable, very capable of healing anything, absolutely anything, cancer, everything else. I haven't worked with a lot of cancer patients, but the medical system is so controlling, I don't get a chance to work with people like that. So a quantum field is a divine field of who you are, with your mindset in a space of, I am control of my reality, and I choose what kind of reality I want, and I put the right information into that quantum field to activate quantum field to create my reality. So hope that helped.
It does. It helps a lot for sure.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of people that, are listening who remember Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. There's a lot of, all over Facebook right now, there's a lot of discussion around Tony Robbins, around, some of the masters of, changing your destiny, changing your future, not from the raw perspective, but from the perspective of thought, and the primary focus being that we do have the ability to change our lives if we put the energy into it to do so.
Well, a lot of misinformation has gone out there about, I can think of a few so-called experts out there who said, if you think of this, you'll change your reality. Absolutely false. Absolutely false. It's, the thinking has nothing to do with it. The thinking is a secondary part to intention and belief systems. So I have a chart that has intentions at the top. You set an intention to create money or whatever. The first box it hits is belief systems. So the belief systems is where you need to focus. Change your beliefs about your worthiness to receive love, change your reality. It's got nothing to do with affirmations, and the affirmations come after you've filtered out the beliefs that are no longer serving you. So feelings and thoughts come from your belief system. So people will go to these events, and there'll be high motivation, rah events. Like Tony Robbins does quite a few of those now, and they're really not that helpful, to be honest with you. And so he helps a lot of people get to a different stage in their life. So my job is to go in and help you really identify who you are and claim it. And so that takes time. You can't do it with a large audience of 5,000 people all at once. My spirit guides tell me that I will be doing that in the future. So I'm excited about that. So can I talk about spirit guides at all?
Please, my pleasure. I would love it if you did.
Well, my spirit guide's name is Seth, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Seth. Have you?
I'm not sure that I can relate. No.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Seth wrote a series of books in the 60s and 70s and 80s through a woman named Jane Roberts. She channeled Seth. She died in 1986, and she did a series of books called Seth Speaks. So Seth is an ascended master, and he calls me his son, and I call him father. So I work with a number of archangels to access the highest and the best information available for us humans, such as Saint Germain, Lord Metatron, Seth, and many other beings like Isis and many other angelic beings, ascended masters and archangels. So a lot of my information, I'll say this has been confirmed by those beings as being accurate. And they just said, well, you do know what you're talking about. And so just keep doing what you're doing. And I said, well, thank you. That really helps a lot when you're alone in the world.
Validated by a higher power, our spirit.
Yeah. And I'm very fortunate that I have a woman who lives in Qualicum, who channels all these beings, and she's extraordinary. She's like Esther Hicks on steroids. And she's a delightful, sweet woman, and she's going to be at that wellness fair in Nanaimo. And she's going to give an example of her channeling at that time. So I've been blessed to have had a lot of support in everything that I do. And every time I raise my vibrations by continually removing my blockages from my childhood, I reach new different levels of possibilities. And so my journey continues, and I'm very committed to helping each and every client fully release whatever they want to release and come into a space of peace. That's ultimately the goal of everybody, because we live in a world that's so chaotic. I mean,
absolutely.
When are you ever at peace? Well, I teach people also in the process how to be in what I call your oh gosh, I lost the name now. It's like a sanctuary, yeah, within. And that sanctuary exists, but we don't really give it any credence. We don't really give it any value, but it's high value for your nervous system to stay calm, even in the midst of the chaos. When you can sit in your sanctuary amongst the chaos, but have the power to say no to what you don't want and yes to what you want. That intent is very powerful, and it creates peace within your body and in your heart. And so those people who are constantly in chaos or constantly have anxiety or whatever, it's very easy to help them feel the place of peace and come to a state of peace. You don't have to be a yogi master to do this.
Of course.
Every person's capable of doing anything. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
So,
it's a perfect segue, actually, for our listeners to go grab a piece of paper and a pen, because they're going to want to know how they can reach you, Rocky. And so when we come back in a moment, no, we're not leaving the conversation right now, but I will request people to grab a piece of paper and a pen. And while you're at it, if you've just tuned in, you're listening to CHLY 101.7 FM. I am Kathy Holmes. I am so delighted to be your host on Act 3 in the Zoom booth. Our guest today is Rocky Krogfoss. He has a fabulous organization or company called New Beginnings Therapy, in which we talk about quantum emotional healing, which is the topic for today. I'm having a moment with this conversation where I'm seeing the empowerment that people can actually have when they take control over their own destiny by simply paying attention to what their feelings do. So many people are told to stop feeling, whether they're numbing themselves, whether they're drugging themselves. Addiction, we know, has become critical proportions in every single community in British Columbia, across Canada, the United States, North America as a whole. I know it's more than the power of positive thinking.
Yes. Power of positive thinking, like I say, it comes up against that little box that's right in the middle called, what do I believe about myself?
So in that frame, the what do I believe about myself? When do we as human beings really start to acknowledge, in your experience, who we are, who we've become as a
Well,
consequence of our
it
circumstances?
usually starts with pain or trauma.
Yeah.
And the pain or trauma gets to the point of, I can't do this anymore. And they don't know why. You know, these people are suffering, in my perspective, needlessly. But when they come to me, they suddenly realize through the process that they're actually in control of everything. They're giving away their power to everyone else, to doctors, to medical systems, to, you know, psychiatrists, whatever. And we want to give them the space so that they can understand who they are, that they're literally a laptop computer with a hard drive called, this is what I believe about myself. So when we go there, when we actually, oh, do I have permission to go there today? Yes.
Of course.
Gently, safely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is how we get you to a state of balance and peace, and pain-free and trauma-free.
So it's not as though that bad things don't happen to good people. Bad things happen all the way around us. And it's our role and responsibility as an individual to take that information that's external and process it internally in a way that it doesn't hurt our system. It doesn't hurt our vessel. It doesn't hurt our heart. It doesn't steal our love. It doesn't do those things. But so many people, I think, in my opinion, this is strictly my opinion, I think that many people are just afraid to feel.
Yes, of course they are. They've been stuck in this emotional prison called, you know, I can't talk about that because I might be ashamed of myself. Shame and guilt are a huge factor in locking you into a prison for life, in a lot of cases, of pain and suffering, unworthiness to receive love, servitude to an entity that we can't even identify because we don't even know what it is. It's just, I'm in service, I'm in service, I'm in service. Being in service is good once the temple is balanced and is harmonized and is filled with love, and you believe each day. I jokingly say to my clients, I said, when you get up in the morning, I want you to do this. Go into the bathroom, look into the mirror and go, mirror, mirror on the wall.
Right.
Yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. You're looking at her. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, baby. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about. I am magnificent. I am worthy of unconditional love. And that begins a process of shifting and awareness of self. So it's a great way to start the day. Have fun with it. Give it a go. Why not?
Hey, listen, I use affirmation all the time. I'm a woman of faith. I'm very, very clear that the direction of my steps is guided. However, I'm accountable for where I put my foot. Yeah. So there is that balance that I think that everybody needs to have. But I also think that you're quite right in that society has sort of pigeonholed people to go into these little boxes, patriarchal or not, these little boxes of I must, I have to, this is who I am, this is how I identify with myself. When in actual fact, that identity has been really gifted by someone who really has no genuine flow in the body, the singular humanity.
You're in terms of lineage, if you look closely, you will see this is common across the board.
Absolutely.
How many people wake up one day and look in the mirror and go like, I've become my mother, or I've become my father. I don't want that. You know, because that's the programming that you downloaded in your childhood, and you're downloading their beliefs and their ancestors' beliefs and their ancestors' beliefs. So that's why they call it lineage. So a lot of people in this timeline on this earth are here to go, I don't think I'm going to live your lineage or my ancestors' lineage. I'm going to create my own. And that's why so many are doing the healing work to set themselves free, to set up a journey where their experiences are based on what they believe, not what they've been taught to believe.
Do you not think, though, that that's really becoming a very commonplace thing for all of us as human beings in 2022, 2023? I mean, I certainly am my mother passed away in 2002, my sister 8 months later. There was a lot of pain, obviously, in the loss and the grief that goes with that. I certainly have had the echo in my head that has said, I sound like my mother when I talk to my son. Some of that I really like, some of it not so much. But at the end of the day, I see young people now, right? Millennials and people that are in their 30s and early 40s now, and they have shifted. They are not the way we were in the 60s and the 70s, right? We don't they don't seem to follow in the same way.
They were born that way. They're called star seeds. My daughter, who's 31 and lives in Victoria, is a crystalline indigo child. She was born with a higher vibrational understanding, first of all, of who God is. And they just believe it. They don't have to be trained to, but when I say God, I'm not talking religious, I'm just talking who they are. They just know who they are.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so many of these kids coming on this planet today are here to shift the earth that's moving into another dimension called 5D. And so these kids are here to help establish a new order on this planet that will be integral, that will be of benefit to all rather than some. And so that's why you have a spiritual war going on this planet right now. And it's not a war of bombs and bullets.
No, but there's definitely a shift in the way that people perceive faith as a whole. People don't say that I'm religious anymore. They say that they have a belief or they're spiritual. Right? Yes. Because really religion has caused so much pain.
Yes, and these kids are aware of it. That's why the ones that go to church now, some of them buy into it for a while until they wake up at a later age, but some of them just go, no, I don't believe in limitation, and this particular church or religion or whatever you want to call it has limitations, and I'm not one to be limited. I will not be limited. I will be a lover of all people. I will not segment people because of what they believe and they're the righteous ones and we're not. They don't do that. And it's confusing to a lot of older people like me, but not me, because I've always been in the train that I love everybody equally and I don't care what you believe. I don't care what religion you believe. I have many friends that are Sikhs and Hindus and Muslims and you name it. The one faction that I don't really see eye to eye with, because I've given up trying to talk, is the Christian community that is stuck on this is the only way to salvation, and so I just leave that alone now. And I work with other people whose religions are much more gentle and more inclusive. And so eventually this world's going to be an inclusive world. That's happening. It's taking time to shift.
Every day.
Every day.
I'm seeing it every day as well. And I don't, just because, for those listening to us on this show, I guarantee you that I am not a person that believes that one religion is right more than another, or another is less than another. And so, to be very, very clear, I think that we as human beings have that privilege to make a decision for ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
And it is our humanity that is collective, and we need to respect other people's belief systems, whatever they are.
Well, there's an energy around the entire earth called the mass conscious energy. It is a collective of every single thought, feeling, and emotion that ever existed on this earth.
Yeah.
And these kids have come along basically to shift and change the information in this energy field so that war cannot be created when you don't hate yourself or you hate someone. It's impossible to create war if you don't hate, if you love everything and everyone. It's impossible to create war on this planet. Yeah. It's simply because it cannot be created. So these are the existential things that are being shifted and changed right now. So I know that you're well aware of it, and good for you. Slowly but surely, people are waking up. Their DNA is being awakened, and they're starting to understand who they really are. And the work I do is just a small part that's interactive in creating a world that is united and free in so many ways.
Very, very complex. They are very, very complex at best. There is a lot of, and we said it at the beginning of the hour, you've experienced it yourself. Most of our listeners, most people have had some trauma that is supported their lives, negated their lives, destroyed their lives, or lifted them from the depths of, some very deep stuff. And they are free. My curiosity from quantum emotional therapy is to sort of understand what happens when a person is awakened in your care and they're now in that state. How do you, and I do not mean in any way to be disrespectful, not even, please, listeners, do not take it this way, but people throw the word love around, right? So much that there's as much damage in throwing that around as there is in understanding what's real, what makes sense when someone is coming and they're vulnerable and they've opened themselves up in this kind of a vessel and they're raw, and then they need to walk ahead. What does that look like for you?
Well, many of my clients have built a really solid wall around their heart from painful experiences. So they're afraid to love now. They're afraid to receive love. So there's, like you said, there's multiple inputs of areas that need attention. And I help them start removing a brick at a time and allowing the light to come back into their heart. And feeling it and realizing that they're safe, that the illusion of impending pain and fear and trauma is an illusion they believe is real. So the reason why they built a wall around their heart at first, was because of their belief systems as a child growing up. There are many things that influence our ability to love ourselves and to love others. A parent like my father, who was extremely racist and bigoted, said those people are bad, those people are stupid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I started off life with a whole bunch of, I'll even go as far as to say, crazy thoughts, crazy belief systems. And I had to shift and change all that. It was it was like taking the Titanic and turning it on a dime,
Totally. Yeah.
And so every person's an individual, every person's different, every person operates at a slightly different frequency than anybody else, even if they come from the same family. Their perception of their reality is so different. I have 4 brothers, and their perception of their reality is much like my father's, and we don't talk anymore, and I'm okay with that.
Shame.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's a blessing, because I don't have to be subject to their constant negativity and judgment of me. So I made a decision to be free. And so what I do with people is I help them realize what kind of inputs are coming in now and how they're affecting their cellular body, how they're affecting their nervous system and everything else, so that they can make authentic decisions. Sometimes being authentic is doing a really courageous thing, like I did, which is walk away from my family, my mother, my father, everybody. Simply because every time I stepped into that circle, I was constantly being judged as a person who belonged to a cult. And then when I asked them, what's the name of my cult? And they said, oh, I don't know, but you're part of a cult. And I went, okay. What makes you think that, And so they just didn't understand, and they're not capable of understanding. This is one thing that I finally learned. They're not capable of understanding because they're programmed to be this limited robot. And I made a decision that my family now is out there. You are my family. I get a lot more joy talking to people who hear me, who value what I have to say and everything else.
Mhm.
And to me, it's my family. So, you know, it's kind of like what the world is coming to is a place of connection, peace, compassion, and understanding for everything, and no judgment anymore. That's where we're going.
Yeah, I think that freedom for some people isn't a place. It's a
Right.
state, right? It is that a belief that you matter, that you are important, that you are valued, that people, not everybody, even the people that you've grown up with your whole life, are not necessarily supposed to be with you forever. Some are
Right.
with you for a week, some for a lifetime, right? Some for a season. And so you need to be able to determine for yourself what feels right for you, providing it doesn't cause harm to anyone else in the process.
Right. Well,
Right?
there's never harm in giving yourself more love.
No, that's
And
very true.
so the reality is that when we're in this space and we're getting a chance to speak and be heard without judgment, without anything else, I'm just listening. You get a chance to feel valued, to feel supported, to feel heard and loved and acknowledged and seen. And so that begins an entire process on an entire new journey, the journey of self-discovery, which is ultimately the greatest journey a human can take.
I think it's the most important journey that someone can take.
Ultimately, that is true, but you know, I'm not going to sit here and trying to convince anybody of that. I'm simply going.
That's okay. I understand.
I simply will invite them to a space where they want to feel better. They want to be clearer about their thoughts. They want to understand who they really are rather than have everybody else tell them who they are. You know, when they want that freedom, it's available to you and it's easy to do. Yeah.
So if someone calls you up, and this is a good time because a little bit ago we told people to please grab a piece of paper and a pen so that they could write down your information. Why don't we start with a little of that now? How about we share your contact information? How can people access your works?
Okay. One way is through my website, which is www.migraine1mastery.com. Migraine1mastery.com. There is a sign-up sheet there, sign-up site, where I will do a free introductory healing. I do it for everybody, so you can experience my work, no matter what's going on in your world. It can be healed. It can be released. So I do that, and my phone number, you can call me anytime. I'm really gentle and easy on that. 604-802-8908 on my cell, and I'll be more than glad to talk to you anytime. And the last contact is my email, which is kind of smirky. It's stressfreeme99@gmail.com.
Okay. So that is a wonderful opportunity for people to try it out and figure out for themselves whether or not this is something that can support them. I don't, you know, for me, I love feeling better, and every day is a brand new piece of paper that I get to write for the day, right? And so I really know that a lot of people are a little bit frightened just to try new things or to reach inside of themselves and see what they're really thinking. They have been programmed so much for so long. You know, what can a person expect when they call you? What do you think the first aha moment generally is?
First of all, they have an experience of being heard, and they have an experience of feeling what my voice does to their cellular body.
Mhm.
It's a welcoming, it's a basically God to God connection.
Mhm.
And so they are welcomed without any condition. And so immediately, like within 2 or 3 minutes, they generally feel safe. And safety is a wide open space to say, you know what, I've been experiencing this and I've been experiencing that, and you know, I feel awful, or I feel, you know, sick, or I feel traumatized, or whatever it is. And I'll just say, no problem, I can help you. And so all we need to do is talk about it a little bit, and then we can get going. We'll do an introductory session, and you'll either feel improvement or you won't, and you have the right to walk away and say, this is not for me. I'm not a person that pushes anything. It's impossible to heal anything when there's resistance anyway. So I just tell them straight out. I had one guy quite a few years ago now who insisted that I fix him. And I told him, I can't fix you. You need to show up, you need to share your feelings, and he never did get there, so I had to let him go. So it's a very rare event. Most people show up, are really seriously ready to do the work and reach their freedom, reach their pain-free body, reach their stress-free body. It's actually very easy to do. It's easy for me to say that, but most people out there will just think, they're so used to just, oh God, I got to go see a doctor. I got to take these bloody pills again. And I just don't want to do that. Some people just don't do it. They suffer. And so when they have one experience with me and they feel their body going like this.
Yeah, the decompression of it all.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
The decompression of how many thousands of women have I talked to who have said, yeah, I went to the doctor and he said, it's just in your head, just forget about it. And
especially for older women, I hear it a lot. For older women. Yeah, if you're getting older now, you're a senior now, you're much more mature. You're not who you were when you were 20. You're not who you were when you were 30. And now you're 60, now you're 70. And people are just, resolved to the fact that that's how they have to live, when that's just unadulterated crap. I want to say it's crap.
It's bull. Yeah,
that's right. People have the right and the ability to change. Listen, we're almost so go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say this. It is very possible, it is scientifically proven that we can shift and change our DNA to the point where we can live much longer, act and look much younger. It's here now. It's just people don't believe it because we've been told lies about our DNA. You can shift your DNA. You can release a protein that causes cancer. You can shift it down. That's what epigenetics is all about.
Right.
So you have the power. Yes. So we're close to the end, are we?
We're close to the end. So I'm just going to make a couple of quick announcements, and then we're going to come back for that last moment of wisdom, because I do love sharing the wisdom piece. So if you have just tuned in, I wish you turned in a little bit earlier, because you could have heard some really cool stuff, but you can watch this on our YouTube station. So by all means, please join us on Act 3 Media Productions on YouTube. And I know that you're going to love the program. Even if you want to revisit some of the stuff that we've talked about, it's a great place for you to do that. A couple of things are happening in community. I want to make sure that you know all about them. Our guest Rocky alluded to a wellness fair, a spiritual fair that's coming up. It's coming up. Gypsy Hard, who was our guest recently on Act 3, is hosting this magnificent program. It's going to be on May 7th. You want to visit. It's going to be quite outstanding. In addition, if you have not already purchased those last tickets available for hospice, remember the draw is coming up really soon. Nanaimo Hospice really can use your support. So please make sure that you go to their website, www.nanaimohospice.ca, and make sure you get those tickets. And last but not least that I want to share with you, I'm so delighted, excited, and in my wow zone to let you know that Shine 2022 is coming to Nanaimo on the 17th of September. This programming is going to be amazing, working with mental health and addictions. Everything's going to AVI and to School District 68. It's getting a little piece of that as well. So please make sure, if you haven't already marked it in your calendar, it's the social event of the season. You're going to want to come. So please join us on Shine 2020. Again, you can find out any information that you like to by getting in touch with me on Act 3 Media Productions. It's easy. Just go to the internet, go Act 3. You'll find me. It'll come up. We are delighted to have had our guest today, Rocky Krogfoss, with New Beginnings Therapy and Quantum Emotional Healing. He's done a lot of healing for all of us in this last hour. Rocky, As we close out the end of the program today, I just want to first of all thank you for the time that you've given us and the audiences to hear your point of view. It's always a treat and a treasure to learn something new, that we can actually make a difference and make change in our lives.
Yes.
From your experience, though, what's always been your takeaway through all of this? If you could share with you that little nugget of wisdom that our communities can walk away with and hold close to them, what does that look like to you?
I want to share with every person listening today that the world is changing very quickly. What we thought was reality before is fading away, and we're entering a new timeline where you can heal anything, anything. We just have to work on your belief system so that you allow your body to heal pain, trauma, whatever it is. I'm saying to you, you've got nothing to lose, and it's easy work. Give it a shot, and I'll give you my best, and we'll see what we can do for you. I promise.
Well, I think we could all use a preferred future. So I encourage everybody to reach out to Rocky. Rocky, it's been a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
It's my honor. Thank you so much.
Pleasure was ours. So ladies and gents, that does it for another episode of Act 3 on CHLY 101.7. Tune in next week. Tune in every Monday at 1 o'clock. We're always delighted that you're here, and we do appreciate your point of view every single day and always. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Act 3.